Hi everyone, and thank you for clicking on this video. Today's subject is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while now and finally got around to. I want to introduce you to 5 less known ways that artists can make money from their art, and it doesn't matter if you're a full-time artist or just looking for some extra side hustle allowance. All of these methods work in both cases. And I just want to remind you that I have a playlist for working artists where I have collected all of my videos that are about making money as an artist here on YouTube. And I also quickly want to add that my Etsy is open right now for a limited time though. I'm running a clearance sale with a massive discount on almost all products, and I have a fixed shipping price for international orders. So go check that out, because once these things sell out, they are not coming back. Alright, let's dig right into it. First, let's go over a specific type of commissions. They are called Your Character Here commissions, or YCH commissions. The plain idea is you draw a base for a character illustration and put the base up for sale as a mock-up for a final commissioned illustration. Then when you sell the base to someone, you finish the drawing with the character that the customer gives you. It's in the name, you insert your customer's character onto the base that you drew. You can still set kind of limitations as to what kind of characters you'll draw. Maybe you can't or will only draw specific kinds of characters. You can also customize Your Character Here commissions criteria as you see fit, but here are a few things that you can take into consideration that customers might request from you and that you can consider. Changing the body type of the character base, changing the gender of the character base, and whether or not you'll allow fan art. Basically, you should consider using the same kind of rules that you'd use for regular commissions. For example, will you need exact character references, or are you okay working from a text description of a character or even a mood board? Those are just some things to consider. Here are some examples of Your Character Here commission bases that I've created and had for sales during conventions, and here are some examples of finished Your Character Here commissions. For these bases specifically, I only did simple coloring to save myself some time during the conventions and to be able to keep the price a bit lower. But Your Character Here commissions should be priced as you would normally price your commissions. It's still a custom illustration, so don't make it cheaper just because it was made from a base, because you did make the base yourself after all. In my opinion, I would never sell the same base twice. I know there are some artists that do this and their customers are also fine with this. I just think it takes away some of the uniqueness of the commission, but it is completely fine to do as long as you are making it very clear that you are selling multiple versions of the same base. So to summarize, Your Character Here commissions are bases that you draw and sell, and then you customize it to fit it with your customer's provided character. And you can host Your Character Here commissions the same place you would normally have your commission info, whether it's on social media or a designated commission page. It depends a bit on how you intend to sell the commission, but I'll get back into where and how to sell Your Character Here commissions in just a moment. First, I want to cover another great way to sell your art. Surely you have heard about adoptables. A very simple way to put it is, you create a character or a design, and then you put them up for sale, or adoption, to use the correct term. When someone adopts your character or design, they're basically paying for the ownership of the design or the character. Some artists have terms and conditions to keep in mind when selling their adoptables. So in some cases, for instance, a new owner may not resell the adoptable for a higher price than the original price. It's just something to keep in mind. Adoptables cover a very broad market, and you can actually put everything from complete characters to mood boards and color palettes up for adoption. The adoptables community is so big, I can't possibly cover just a fraction of this market in this video, but I'll introduce you to some of the common types of adoptables you'll encounter. Obviously, there are character adoptables. You design a character and put them up for adoption. The characters might come with none to fully explain background stories and personalities. Some artists focus on creating complete characters before putting them up for adoption, and others will focus exclusively on the design of the character and put no effort into personality or background stories. You'll also see artists offering adoptables in sheets. Basically, they'll create a bunch of characters on the same sheet or canvas, mostly using the same base for poses, and put them up for adoption. In my experience, these types of characters are typically a bit cheaper compared to fully developed characters, but it really does depend on the artist and their popularity. If you start digging into adoptables, you'll definitely also encounter a phenomena known as open and closed species. It's a bit of a niche inside the adoptables community itself, and if you're good at inventing character species and designs, it's definitely worth looking into. Aside from characters, you can also put up outfits for adoption. If you like to design outfits for characters but you don't plan on using them yourself, you can earn extra money by putting them up for adoption. Outfits created in specific themes typically do really well in my experience, as opposed to just random designs. Adoptables is such a huge topic, and if you're interested in learning more, I put some resources in this video's description, so be sure to check them out. Now, before we move on to the other 3 alternative methods that you can use as an artist to make money off your art, I'll just quickly talk about how and where you can sell your adoptables and your character hair commissions. The first and most obvious place to show and potentially sell your art is through social media. Keep in mind though, just because you're a great artist or know how to create really appealing characters and designs, doesn't mean you'll instantly have a lot of sales. And vice versa, even if you have a massive following, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get a lot of sales either. Use your social media to advertise for your designs or your character hair commissions. If you have a decent following, there are better odds that your commissions or designs will sell. If you don't get any sales at all or you don't really have a following, you should definitely also try to market yourself in the relevant communities. I talked a bit about this in my most recent commission guide as well, but basically you can use specific subreddits or forums created for artists to advertise their commissions or adoptables. Basically be present with your work in the areas where the buyers are. Some artists might sell directly through their social media platforms, but you can also use sites such as Etsy, Ko-fi, or Artistry to sell your commissions and adoptables. If you use Artistry, remember that they do not take a cut from your sales like Etsy and Ko-fi does. Your character hair commissions and adoptables are typically sold as regular first come first served transactions, but it's also very common to sell them through self-hosted auctions where interested buyers will bid on your design or commission base. If you want to learn more about auctions, I also put a link to some resources in this video's description. Now let's talk about a very typical way for artists to make money, but perhaps not so commonly known in our online art community yet. I'm talking about artwork licensing. In the broader design industry, licensing is super common. Seeing some bananas on a curtain somewhere or a graphic t-shirt, probably licensed artwork. To license your artwork basically means that you rent out the rights for someone else to sell your design and profit from it. Typically for a very specific use like a specific campaign or for a limited time duration. Selling license is not the same as selling off your copyrights to someone. By licensing your art, you keep the ownership of the artwork, and the company or the person renting your art pays you either a fixed price for using your designs, or you get royalties from their sales. The broader design, textile, fashion industry might seem a bit overwhelming, at least I think so. So let me explain a way that you can license your artwork. Let's say you love to create original artwork that would easily make a great book cover or a cute pattern. You can take those designs that you're not using for anything else and put the license up for sale. You can either set a fixed price or you can have interested buyers contact you so that you can tailor a price suited for their licensing needs. The details about how long or for what purpose the artwork will be used must also be discussed between you and your client. And obviously avoid putting your own beloved characters or existing characters on artwork that you want to license off. I put some resources on licensing in the video's description as well, but I'd also really like to recommend getting the Graphics Artists Guild Handbook on Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. I have the 16th edition. I believe it's currently the newest one, but I'm not entirely sure anymore. In this book, you can look up pretty much everything about pricing and guidelines for being a working artist or graphic designer and everything in between. It even comes with templates for different kinds of agreements. I seriously can't recommend this book enough as a working artist myself. It also writes a lot about different kinds of licensing, and I've learned so much from this book. Just a quick personal recommendation. Now let's move on and talk about assets. Every artist and their mom are selling their brushes for Procreate. It's obviously an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Selling your drawing assets can be a very lucrative area to dip your toes into. And I'm not just referring to custom brushes, but also all sorts of templates that others might find useful. And those are just some examples of assets for other artists. You can also earn pretty well from creating game assets like 3D objects, pixel art, 2D art, and especially backgrounds. Take a look at places such as the Unity Asset Store or the Unreal Engine Marketplace just to see the variety of assets being produced and sold. While an artwork license is typically only sold to one company or person, at least at the time, assets can be sold multiple times to anyone, and since it's digital content, you won't ever run out of stock. It's just a really nice passive income once they're launched and start selling. Just remember that assets are supposed to be useful to other people. You can't sell anything just because you use it. So try and consider what you would find really useful yourself and what you can offer that no one else can offer in the way that you can. And very lastly, I just quickly want to mention tutorials, guides, and courses. Selling in-depth tutorials, guides, and whole courses online can be a great source of income. It's something that I'm looking into myself, and it's a great way to offer a very personalized service. It takes time to create an in-depth tutorial, a well-written guide, or an entire course, but if you're good at teaching, it's definitely something that's worth looking into. And you don't have to have an ongoing Patreon in order to create tutorials and guides for people. You can just put them up for sale in a web shop like Gumroad, for instance. Alternatively, you can release courses on existing platforms that cater to an audience that are already looking to learn online, such as 21 Draw, Skillshare, Domestika, Udemy, and Colosso, just to mention a few. And as a little bonus mention, consider if an insight or a deeper look into your art and processes can be valuable to someone. For instance, I have a lot of my previous Patreon rewards for sale on my Gumroad. Some of them have written guides and others are real-time or slower time lapses of my entire painting process so that people can learn from them. They're not tutorials per se, but they provide an in-depth look into my process. Occasionally, I also release digital sketchbooks containing never-before-seen sketches. I've bought digital sketchbooks myself because I think they're super inspiring and provide kind of a behind-the-scenes look into an artist's process. So that's definitely also a kind of concept that you can consider selling. Ooh, breathe! And those were 5 less known ways for artists to make money from their art. I hope you learned something new today. Be sure to check out the resources I put in the description below if you're curious to learn more. And if you know other great methods to earn money from your art that are maybe considered less known in our community, we'd love to hear them in the comments below. And as I mentioned, my Etsy is currently open only for a limited time though, so if you want to grab something for yourself, it's now. Aside from the massive clearance sales that I've going on, I also added completely new products, so be sure to go and check that out. The link is in the description, and thank you so much in advance. And also thank you so much for watching this video, guys. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, and punch the ding dong to be notified of my next upload. Until next time, guys, remember to breathe and take care. Bye!